say, nope, can't do it, move on, because they don't want to work any harder than they really have to. And that's not everyone, but that's probably 90% of people out there. What needs to be true about how I do this particular thing in order for it to be compliant with the IRS or the state or Department of Labor or whatever it may be? If you ask a question like that, then you'll get answers like the ones I'm about to give you. So here's a couple things you have to understand. Understand worker classification standards, federal IRS guidelines, behavioral control, independent contractors, aka 1099 stylists, cannot be controlled by the salon. Okay? Contractors decide how and when they work. If there's an agreement or a contract with them where they pick the hours they want to be on the premises, well, they pick the hours. And then you could work with them and say, hey, listen, this is available on Mondays. It's available on Wednesdays and Fridays. What hours do you want to come in? I think it's a pretty clear conversation to have. They initial off on it because they agree that's the hours they picked. Now, financial control. They handle their own business expenses. They make a profit and a loss. If they want to market, they can market. If they don't want to market, they don't have to market. Like it's pretty simple. The type of relationship. Contractors should contracts should state the worker is an independent contractor, not an employee. So when you have a legal binding contract, in that the verbiage you use states that they are an independent contractor. They can have their own LLC, and within that entity, they'll have an EIN number, so you can list that in the contract. It doesn't have to be with the individual. It could be with the business that they own. So you're protected right there if you structure it the right way. Now, some states use the ABC test. Prong A, the worker must be free from salon's control. Prong B, the worker must be outside of what the salon usually does. And we're going to give the strategy for that in a second. Prong C, the worker should run their own business and show this by having their own clients, advertising, and business registration. So by having their own LLC, that covers that. By having their own clients, obviously it's their clients because they could, they have their phone now. People are texting them on Instagram. They're forming client relationships. And if they have their own Google business page, their own LLC, that's all covered in there. Now, let's take a look at how you set this up. As a salon, there's a couple ways you can do this, depending on what state you're in. But the cleanest way to do this, to get the most amount of protection from the Department of Labor overstepping their boundaries into your business and the state and the IRS, you're going to want to form two LLCs. You're going to want the Salon LLC that provides a space and sells retail products, does not directly pay any of the independent contractors for their services or controls the work. Then you hire an out-of-state staffing agency that handles the independent contractor agreements and payments. It provides operational tools that are optional, like booking software for the convenience of that independent contractor. So in cases like Diamond X Operations West Incorporated versus Superior Court, this particular court case is the one where the ABC ruling came out in California. So take a look at that. If you guys want to see a link, go to my stories right now. It breaks that down for you in a little more detail. Or if you're watching this after this live, just DM me the 1099 information. I'll send it over to you. Now, the reason why it's important to have these two separate entities as a salon owner, there's a bunch of reasons why you want to have that. But in this particular conversation, the reason being is you want to make sure you separate the entity that's paying the independent contractor from the entity, from the establishment that they're working in. So if the salon here if the salon is here to facilitate an environment for independent contractors and they sell retail in there, what will happen is any retail sold by the independent contractor, they will get paid a commission by the salon. Any services being done, that will come from the staffing agency. So the business entity that is actually on premises in the state, there is no transfer of money from any services whatsoever from this salon to that stylist. Zero. And you don't even have to pay them a commission on the retail if you wanted to. You could do that from a different agency as well. So there's no money being transferred to that person. There's nothing to investigate. There's no money being transferred. It's coming from an out-of-state agency. So that staffing agency is crucial in this whole entire conversation. Now, you shouldn't be controlling your team anyway. This is a business structure that is meant for salon owners who want to give freedom to their team. If you're competing with suites, and like this is really big here in New Jersey, if you are trying to compete with suites, one of the main reasons why they want to get out of the salon environment is because they want some freedom, whether it be more money, but they're not going to make more money in a suite. I mean, half of them know that. Some might, but majority of them don't. It's going to be really freedom. They want to kind of have their own business, a little more control. There's a win-win opportunity here. And if you are able to create that kind of salon and environment, and you're the type of leader that inspires, you don't need to control anybody. You can create an amazing culture in your salon that gives them flexibility, gives them freedom, and be way more profitable. Most salons work off like an 8 to 12% profit margin. One of the main expenses is going to be taxes. And so if you are able to relieve the salon from covering those payroll taxes, it allows you to increase some commissions, and you can give a higher commission structure to an independent stylist. Now, in the beginning phases of someone's career, it's probably better to have them on your team as a W-2 employee or work somewhere where it's a little more structured, a little more disciplined environment for them. Not everyone can flourish in this particular environment, and that's a fact. That's just not like, I'm not just saying that out of thin air. I've seen it in my own experiences. So that's why the commission, if you want to listen to me here for a second, should be set a little lower. You, as a staffing agency, LLC, salon, or we'll just say salon in this particular conversation, you can't give them a high commission structure yet because you need to be helping them advertise. You're going to be investing more money into them, whether it's education you're providing, whether it's ads you're providing. You're building that person up at a certain point of their career. Once you go from $1,500 a week to $2,000 a week to $2,500 a week to $3,000 a week, you begin to build a clientele. That clientele, honestly, is yours. You earn the right to control that clientele. A lot of salon owners don't like this. They don't want to give access to their booking software to their team. They don't want to give access to their clientele. They don't want to give phone numbers, emails, and all that stuff away. I don't care. I don't have a scarcity mindset. So my staff, they have access to everything. Now, the only thing I block is because when they start editing stuff, it messes things up. So there's like very, very few restrictions on anything on that booking software. I give them full range. They can get phone numbers. They can contact clients. They can do all that. That works with me and how I want to run my business. That is also aligned with the absence of control. That's something that a lot of salon owners don't want to do. If that makes you feel uneasy, then this isn't the business model for you. I want to compete with suites. I want to make sure that I can give them up to 70% commission. Now, let's take the whole conversation here to a different level. Chair rentals are going to be legal in New Jersey. For those of you who don't know, you can't rent chairs in New Jersey. It's the state Board of Cosmetology's rule. It's fucking stupid. But now, when that happens, I think maybe January, this conversation is going to change a lot. How do you compete with chair rentals? Well, from a salon owner standpoint, if I were to charge $450 a week for my chair in my salon, it's not really scalable. There's not much I can make out of it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, if I support that stylist, if you support a stylist and give them clients in the chair rental environment, there's no upside to you. So why would I run ads for them? Like, where's the benefit? Where's the win-win for the owner and then for the stylist? It's just a one-sided win. When you have a commission structure business, it's win-win for both parties. So as they progress with their skill set, their skills with people, their skills with hair, their skills with the whole entire salon industry and becoming a business, they retain more clientele. So I don't need to help them as much. That's why as they get to 3,000 a week, 4,000 a week, 5,000 a week, that commission structure goes up to 70%. So let me come full circle here. At $450 a week, I'm capped out. If I built that stylist to be at $5,000 a week, this is how it works in my salon. At 70%, the salon's still holding on to 30%. So that's $1,500 a week. Clean. I'm not paying payroll tax out of that, nothing. It comes back to the house. Now, you're thinking, what about color? Well, what about color? We do a parts and labor system. So the stylist isn't paying for the color. There's no surcharges on the back end. The salon itself isn't paying for the color. It's getting passed off to the client, the person who's actually using the color. So if Barbara wants to come every 4 weeks for her touch up, it's going to be less expensive. If Nancy wants to extend her visit out 4 months in between touch ups, it's going to be more expensive because you're using more product. The old way of doing things, it just doesn't make sense because if, let's say, a full highlight's $200 to make numbers easy, you go 50-50 commission. I give my stylist $100. She did a root melt, the tip out. She did low lights. She used Olaplex. There's $60 worth of product being used in that client. So it's coming out of my end. The $10 charge I'm charging for the full highlight isn't covering that. So out of the $100 I'm keeping as a salon owner, 50 of it is going to products because obviously you got that $10 charge you're charging to your stylist. So it doesn't work. After you're paying payroll tax on that person, after you're covering the manager, the assistant, the front desk, all of that, those expenses, the rent, you're upside down. So you got to take a look at what is the constraint on the business. Products are a constraint on the business. The product cost, covering the color. We got that covered. Then you get your payroll taxes, all that bullshit. You get that covered by doing this business model. It's much easier accounting doing it this way. Like I said in the beginning, though, if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Have W-2 employees. Just know that when you're complaining because you don't have the ability to create a what's next for your team, they're going to leave. Unless your culture is dialed in and perfect, that's great. But I want to give my team an opportunity to grow. So there's something you're going to hear me speak about moving forward called the personal economy. And what I do is I help them create their own personal economy. That's the benefit of all this. They have their own LLC. They can write off a ton of different things, which we're going to get into right now. So people ask me in the chats on my last post I did, well, if you're covering the color, what expenses do they have? What can they write off? Well, they can write off a lot of stuff. And we are going to bring that up right now. So I don't want to butcher any of these different names, so let's bring it up right here. All right, so as an independent contractor, you had a couple different options here. You could form an LLC or you could form an S Corp.
Turn that light down.
It's too bright?
It's way too bright.
I can't see, though. All right. So talk to your accountant, see which one's best for you. Typically, if you're making under 100 grand, you're going to want to stay in the realm of an LLC. If you are making more than 100 grand a year, an S Corp starts to make more sense, but there's a couple other things you really have to worry about. Now, qualified business income deductions. You get access to, let me break this down for you the right way. So it's a 20% deduction. This deduction helps you reduce your taxable income. So 20% off the top, it's a qualified business income deduction. So that if you're making 100 grand, $20,000 brings you right down to 80 grand, makes it very simple for you. You get access to that. You can write off your bookkeeping. You can write off any accounting software, your QuickBooks. You can write any tools that you buy. You could write off your blow dryer. As a W-2 employee, you don't get access to these deductions. You get access to them as an LLC. You get access to them as an S Corp. And so whether you're using, it depends what state you're in, but you can write off your mileage. You can write off your car. You have an office in your home. You can write that off. You go to a business dinner. You're talking about hair and extensions with a particular person who you do their hair, whether they're a friend or not, doesn't really matter. You're talking hair. Is it a business dinner? Well, then it gets classified as that. So there's going to be a ton of expenses. Self-employment tax. What else do you get in here? You also get to write off your children too if you hire your kids. So there's just so many more benefits to being a business in America. This also applies strictly only to America. Like what they do in Australia is bananas, and what they do in Canada is even different too. But strictly here in America, there's a ton of write-offs. So if you market yourself, if you like to advertise and boost your post, if you're a W-2 employee, I don't think that's a deduction. Or you talk to your accountant about that. I could be wrong, but you could write that off as an LLC and as an S Corp. So there's a ton of benefit to doing this for your team. They can write off their SEP, which is a single employer pension. Medical insurance they can write off. So all the things that you would be paying for if you had them at 40% commission, they're now entitled to write off for themselves and create their own little business. Now, as a salon, having different LLCs kind of sounds scary, but a single owner LLC has a pass-through income. So the IRS doesn't acknowledge the LLC. It just flows right to the person who owns it. So if you were to have an LLC that owned all of your salon equipment, or there was an LLC that owned all the equipment in the salon, there's a lease payment being made to that LLC. So you would have the staffing agency, you could have that furniture leasing company that leases salon furniture out. There could be a marketing agency. There's a lot of different things you could construct here to lower your tax liability in the state, especially a state like New Jersey. So I would talk to a tax professional. I would talk to a tax lawyer. I would construct this whole entire operation so you're going to minimize your taxable income as low as possible. Why would you want to pay more money than you have to? To me, for me to cover the taxes of my team, especially if they're commission stylists, doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather give them more money and have them get entitled to different deductions, but to each their own. Here's one thing that people get wrong. There's no such thing as a 1099 employee. There's a W-2 employee. W-2 stands for the tax form, and a 1099 independent contractor. So don't mix match those two things. Verbiage is really important. So you got to make sure you're saying the right thing. Because if you do have to ever go to court and you say employee, well, that's a conflict of interest because they're not employees. They're independent contractors. Make sure you understand the words are really important here, the words you choose. Your contract's really important. So everything in your contract, if that independent contractor signs off on the hours they're going to participate in your business in, that's the hours they chose. You could hold them accountable to that to a certain degree. So, James, are there questions going on in the comments right now?
There is one question.
Cool.
We got.
And I have all this ironed out in a Google Doc, so you can just DM me 1099. I'll send it over to you. I also have the links to all the court cases that apply to each one of the areas that I'm speaking about. So I didn't just manufacture this out of thin air. These are all tied to a court case that supports it. So if you ever had to go to court, you're being supported by a court case that won in favor of a salon or another business that executed this style of payment.
Emily Beautistry, are you able to have a culture agreement with an independent contractor?
Yes, you can. In your contract, you can have a culture contract in there. Like if you had a sales team, they only get paid on what they produce. So think about like a real estate agent. So I believe there was a court case. Let me look this up. It was Caldwell Banker, I believe. James, I'm turning this up because I can't read it.
Totally ruined a perfectly good shot.
It's okay. So let me get the Caldwell Banker court case here. I know it's here somewhere. All right, so
If you have
Caldwell.
any questions, put them in the chat.
Let me go here. Can we do a culture? But yeah, you do have to do a culture contract. It's part of the contract. So this culture contract is a shared agreement between the salon and its team members, including contractors and staff. It defines values, behaviors, expectations that shape our environment. 100% you can do that. If they don't want to work there, they don't have to work there. So contract law, like the U.S. Constitution, it's based on contract law. Like our whole entire system in America is based on contracts and trusts and shit like that. But
well, isn't the 14th Amendment all about the right to contract?
Yeah, well, there's a lot about the 14th Amendment, but you have the right to contract with citizens. So your independent contractor agreement can stipulate a couple different things in it. You just have to maintain absence of control. You have to make sure there's nothing in there that somebody's like, well, no, you control them here. Everything's optional. So like your booking software, we supply booking software. If they want to get their own booking software, they can. But this particular business is going to have a way to have clients coming in and out of it with the booking software. But you're entitled to have your own software. I don't know why you would, but they could. Hope that answers your question. Let me get the Caldwell Banker answer. All right, so Coldwell Banker versus Superior Court in 2004 of California. So let's see who won. That's the court case you want to look up. The court found that Coldwell Banker, as the seller's real estate broker, did not have a duty of care to third parties. Nope, give me the wrong case here. In regards to so your staffing agency is going to be kind of like a real estate broker with real estate agents is how this works out, and they won in court. You're completely protected. James, any more questions?
There's nothing in the chat.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's Friday. Hopefully people are busy. Part of this whole conversation, people get so bent out of shape about it, and they love throwing the word illegal around. I don't know why you want to give the state or the government more power than they already have, especially here in the States. You're an American citizen. You have so many rights. Don't give them away. Don't hand them off to somebody. You have every right to do your business the way you want to do your business, as long as you cross your T's and dot your I's. And if the law says this and you're doing this and it works, then do it. This is not something I want to say right now that you take advantage of your stylist with. This is something that produces more capital, more cash flow in the business, that now you could do more things like increase your marketing budget. You could pay them more commission. You could create a better environment for people. This is not a way for you to avoid paying taxes on them and then stick them with the bill. It's really important that you give them the knowledge they need, and you really truly coach them and help guide them to make the best decisions for themselves. So it has to be win-win. And this is the best way, I feel, to do it today. In today's landscape, with social media, with the way how easy it is to make an LLC. You go right to InkFile or LegalZoom or whatever website you want to go on. Create your LLC, and now they have their own little mini business entity. They can start operating and functioning like a business here in America and taking advantage of all of the tax benefits by being a business here in the States. They get asset protection. There's just so much that they can do by being their own business, and they can learn. For you, if you don't pour into your team and teach them that, then you're doing something wrong, flat out. So those of you guys who say it's illegal, I welcome you to please come on the show and have a conversation with me, and I would love to unpack this with you live. That'd be great. And bring your accountant on too. Bring your lawyer on. I'll have a conversation with them. I'll bring on my team. We'll all hash it out together. It'll be tons of fun. So happy Friday, Friday Q&A. You got any more questions? Go to my stories, drop it up there. And that's it, James.
Yeah, nothing in the chat.
Let's rock and roll. Let's see you later.
Have a good weekend. God bless.